Welcome to the About podcast. Here we explore your financial health in simple and easy to understand ways.
Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the About podcast, where we talk all things financial health. My name is Jeremy Scott, one of your hosts here, but not alone. Roy, how are you?
That's hooky like cookie to you, sir.
Yes, indeed.
I'm good, man. It's going to be a good one today.
I think so. So we have talked about a lot of things around the idea of investing. That's obviously what people think about when they think about financial health and when they think about financial planners like you. So we want to talk about investing, but in a slightly different way. We want to talk about investing in you. When does it make sense? When does it make sense to take that little extra you have and maybe invest it in yourself? Maybe get a training, maybe advance your career, or maybe just have some fun, you know?
Yeah, and that's an interesting conversation. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
And what does that actually mean to invest in yourself?
Right.
I think that's going to be kind of an interesting arc here.
I think so.
Go through.
A shout out to our podcast on travel, which was kind of coached as investing in memories, which I still am a big fan of. And in fact, my wife and my stepdaughter are doing their trip to Italy this summer in the spirit of the trips I got to take and my late wife took with our kids.
Fun fact, we are putting a investing in memories display up in the front of the office here.
Right.
And I'm pretty excited about that. So we'll have to make sure and get some.
Oh, I got some pictures of me and Vivian in London.
Yes, that should be really cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that because investing in memories is really important. So investing in you is equally important. It's just a different concept, and it can actually make the investing in memories more realistic too.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. So when we say investing in you, I think for a lot of people, if they think about that at all, they probably think about it in terms of their career, right?
Absolutely.
And in today's world where there seems to be so much volatility in careers and careers that once looked stable now maybe don't look so stable, and whole new careers and career paths being invented all the time with the advent of AI and all the different technologies coming on online. So Roy, I'm curious. We talked a little bit before we rolled the cameras that this is territory you get into with your clients sometimes.
Yes.
Because
I believe you had firsthand experience.
I did have some firsthand experience about that one.
Well, so I think it helps to set the table a little bit on this. And, so when you actually look at the first level of investing in yourself, what do you think of, your kid, you graduate high school, what do you do?
Well, you think probably about education.
That's right.
Either
So
college or career.
Some
education.
sort of higher education, right?
Right.
That could be a trade school. That could be college, university, lots of different options, right? So that's like the first level. So even for my own story, right? I went from high school to college, got a mathematics degree, right? So you're investing in yourself because you expect to have some sort of career off of that, right?
Right.
And the
math isn't going away. We're going to keep doing math.
That's actually true. And it was really interesting too, because I was looking at becoming a teacher.
Now, was this before or after they changed math?
This was before.
Okay.
I only do real math.
Okay.
And so I was looking at being a teacher, and I remember going into the counselor, and I love history, and I liked math. So they're both options for me. And I just remember the counselor saying to me, so do you want to have a job no matter what for the rest of your life? I'm like, yeah, that sounds good to me. Well, you should do math because history teachers are a dime a dozen.
Oh. Yeah.
So mathematics is a little bit harder to attain. So therefore, they encouraged me to go that route. So I did.
Okay.
Right. And I became a math teacher. But that's like level one of investing in yourself. And you should be thinking about, if you're going to go to university setting, what are you going to study? Right. And then what is the back end of that of what kind of a job are you going to get? Right. I actually just recently met with a client and their daughter going away to college in the next year. And I actually asked the question, so you want to do this, what kind of income will that have if you have that kind of a degree? Right. And now we have, that information is much more readily available than it was 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Glassdoor or whatever the thing is.
Right.
Yeah, all the places. Yeah.
So now you can actually know if you're going to get a degree, like what is the potential upside to you if you're investing in yourself? What kind of a return could you potentially get on all that effort?
Right.
Well, I wasn't thinking about any of that. I was just thinking about math and doing a teaching thing, and I wanted to coach football.
Oh.
Right. So I did.
I don't know that I knew that part.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in no way surprised.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you would think so, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I got my mathematics degree. I go to teach high school in Arizona, and I coached football, and I enjoyed I enjoyed it.
Sure.
Right. But I didn't know I'd make so little money. Right. So
Teachers don't get paid well in this country, Roy.
not particularly.
Yeah.
But there's some pros and cons to that too, right? With tenure and all these kinds of things, you have some certainty and protections and things like that. But that's also what I was investing in, right? But so I went that route. I got a teaching gig, if you will. Plus, I did coaching, and then I looked at the amount of hours I worked and the amount of pay I was making, and I was like, wow. I was barely able to have a small home, this 1,200 square feet home in Arizona. It had 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and I had to rent out 2 of the bedrooms to other teachers to make ends meet.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So at the end of 5 years, I was kind of like, actually, it was at the end of about 3 years, I was kind of like, what am I doing? Because I don't think this is sustainable, and how am I ever going to have a family and support a family off like with this? Anyway, so that was my thought process. So then I started looking around at things and options, and I had a really good friend that was a teacher and a mentor to me. And he'd actually left teaching and went to become a financial advisor at a big company.
Oh.
Okay. So he was in my ear for about 2 years about maybe you should consider this.
Well, that has some math in it.
It has some math in it. And it was a good transition point for me, but it wasn't just about the pay. It's like, what am I going to, right? What are the things that I want that I can't do now? Right. So it was travel. I really was intrigued by travel. I never really got to do it. I grew up in rural Nebraska, farming family. My mom was a teacher, right? So we didn't have a ton of expendable money to be able to go do big trips and things like that. So we did small things that we could do together, Right. So that was always intriguing to me, and I wanted to see the world. So one of the things is the pay of this big company had some travel compensation built into it. Well, that was intriguing. Yeah. And then I learned the other pieces of the puzzle of things that were opportunity. And then I'm like, I think I want to do that. Right. And I kind of made the decision, and I stayed in teaching for 5 years because I was supposed to get my college loans forgiven because I was teaching in a rural low-income school district. And at the end of the day, I went in to get them forgiven. And they're like, yeah, you didn't qualify the first semester you were there. And I'm like, what do you mean? It was the same place for 5 years. It was worse when I got there than when I left.
It's like I made it better.
Anyway, because the town grew, right? So anyways, but this was one of those things where I think that a little bit of the college loaning system is broken, right? Because they just said no, and I had no recourse. Oh, so I'm like, all right, I guess I'm not getting that because I don't have anybody to go to say like, why not? Prove it. Like, how do you? Right. There was nothing. So or if there was, I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know how to get to it. Right. Yeah. So anywho, at the end of the day, I was like, okay, I made it to my 5 years. I made the leap. I actually ended my my last day of teaching. My mom came and helped me move from Arizona to Colorado. I moved into my cousin's basement, and it was 2 weeks between end and start. Wow. And I remember this vividly because that was the summer that Michael Jackson died. Oh. And they had all the news was just constantly Michael Jackson, So it's like really etched into my brain.
I was at a preaching conference.
Oh.
I was. Yeah.
So exactly. That's the thing. People remember where they were when Michael Jackson passed away.
Yeah. I was in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yep. So I studied for my licensing, and I went into at a big company, financial advising world, great company to work for and learn from. And I did learn a lot. Yeah.
But hold on. I'm curious because I know like you said, okay, you finished and 2 weeks later you started. But I imagine in the year, that year or so, that last year of teaching, you were doing things to prepare for that transition. You didn't just it wasn't just 2 weeks and then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to do this now. Obviously you had somewhere to go.
It was that, Jeremy.
Oh, okay.
I had mentally made the decision. I knew what I was doing and knew where I was going. I went through the hiring process, did all those things. Right. So I was already hired. So my start date was that day. Right. So the previous, 3 months prior to that, I went through all of this stuff to understand what I was going to then go through. Right.
So you were still doing the existing thing while investing time and energy and effort into the next one.
That's right.
So that's what I want to be clear, because I think sometimes people get this little in their heads a little wrong. Like you have to somehow completely stop whatever you're currently doing before you can start doing the next thing. But oftentimes there's some way to have some kind of overlap or some kind of transition or lay the groundwork in some way for, while you're still doing whatever you're doing now for whatever it is you want to go, if you know where you want to go.
Well, and part of that too is like I had to take some personal days off of work to go do this stuff that I needed to do, and that's just part of that. Yeah. So I didn't get those personal days for anything fun. It was just doing the stuff I needed to do to get all my applications in and do all that. But I decided that that was a leap of faith I was going to make. And it was truly a leap of faith because I knew nothing about selling, which is really what I had to do from day one. And I knew nothing about really the financial education and investing piece of the job. You know, and this was 2009. So what was going on in 2009, Jeremy?
Let's see. Who was in the Super Bowl? Oh, are you talking about the Great Recession?
That's right.
Okay, just to make sure.
So I was so ignorant to the profession, though, like truly, that I didn't even pay attention to that or know that I should have been concerned. I was oblivious. This is like the Matrix where the ignorance is bliss comment.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
So there wasn't a lot of competition at that point. People were like, I'm out. That's
right.
You were running in. Everybody's
That's right. So the market bottomed in March of 2009. And I was hired in roughly in that time period, and I started June 15th of 2009. Okay, so dang near the bottom. And
only way to go is up.
That's right. And I had to go through the licensing process, and then by October of that year, I had my licensing, and I was a full-fledged financial advisor. Yeah. Shout out to the What is a Financial Advisor podcast.
Great episode.
And anyway, so then I worked with a broker-dealer. And, you know, when you talk about investing in yourself, like it was eat what you kill. And that's what I mean by sales. I didn't know how to sell anything. And I had to learn all that. Right. And if you didn't have any business, you didn't get any paycheck. Right. So that was a true leap from teaching to going through the licensing process, which, by the way, they told you if you didn't pass your exam the first time, you were fired. Oh. So the point is, with that comment, is when you're investing in yourself, is it going to be easy? No, and it shouldn't be if it's worth having. But you know, you have to be willing to do the things people won't do so you can live the way they can't. And a lot of people aren't willing to go through that discomfort. But that's a big part of investing in yourself.
Well, because there's risk involved, because it's investing. I think that's why using the term investing makes so much sense, because it encapsulates this idea that like you hope and want there to be a return on the time and material and money you may be spending on, you know, changing careers or getting the trainings or, you know, certifications or whatever. But there's no guarantee, you know, but where are you willing to put your risk? And, you know, and how much are you willing to put some risk in your own self? Right. And I'm like, I happen to think I'm pretty great.
Yeah.
And I think you're pretty great. So, yeah. I mean, I think most people hopefully think that they're pretty great.
I'm not great. You're great.
So, I mean, you know, that maybe I'm not a bad bet if I know what I want to do.
So if you want to bet on yourself, and part of that is having clarity of what does that even mean, right? So why did they even matter to me? A couple things. I knew I wasn't happy in my current profession. I just wasn't fulfilled. It didn't fill my cup, right? Whatever that means to each person is different. I've actually seen recently a lot of like women talk about how they want to be moms versus like being in careers that they're in, because they're like, it doesn't fill my cup to be this corporate woman. That fills my cup to take my kids and pick my kids up from school. Right. That might be the investing in yourself thing that you have to, as a household that you're looking at, right? One has to be the breadwinner and one takes care of the family. And what does that look like and how does that operate?
I know some really happy stay-at-home dads too.
Yeah. Well, one of my best friends would be a perfect stay-at-home dad. He would love it, but he can't, so he has to work. But the investing in yourself part is understanding clearly what is it you're trying to accomplish and why, and then can you be relentless in your effort of success to make that happen? Right? Because I was talking a little bit before we started the podcast, but I knew when I went to this new job that it was going to be hard, and I knew that it was like you could be fired. Like within my first 6 months, I knew I could be fired if I didn't pass my exams, right? Yeah. So how serious did I take that?
Probably pretty serious.
I was studying a lot. So I took it very serious. I passed all my exams, but I also knew that I was not going to go back to what I came from. Right? That was etched into my brain that I was not going to go back to what I came from because I wasn't happy there. And you know, it's interesting too, because even people that were that are in my life still that love me said stuff like, "I don't know how you're going to make it."
Oh,
right. Yeah. So that was kind of somebody who goes from a salary job, who's not really willing to maybe bet on themselves of doing more, to somebody to a job where you're not salaried, you're commissioned, and you don't know what the next paycheck's coming.
Right. Well, again, it speaks to your values and what do you want. Some people want, like, I want to know how much my paycheck's going to be. I want to know what the work I'm going to be doing is. I want to know where it's going to be and I want it to be stable and I want it to be certain, right? That is a completely valid set of values to have. But in today's world, that actually I think is increasingly less common in our, move towards gig economy and, all that kind of stuff. So if that's really what you want, then you have to think seriously about what professions still provide that. How do I put myself in a position to be in that profession? It's funny, a friend of mine's daughter went to college last year, and when she filled out her federal student aid thing and told them that they wanted to be a teacher and where she was going to school, the FAFSA process spit back, we don't think you're going to make enough money to pay these loans back. You better be very, very careful. And so at least there's that kind of feedback now.
At least,
when you and I were going to college, they're just like threw money at you. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, they threw money and credit cards and all that.
Oh
stuff,
yeah, all the
right?
crazy stuff.
So when I walked into that, I got into the business and I relentlessly pursued it. I knew I was not going to go back to what I came from. So that was just locked in. I don't know. Like, failure was not an option. I really didn't. It was like, burn the boats.
Right.
I'm not going to go back.
Right.
And you have to have that mentality if you're going to invest in yourself. And if you don't have that mentality, it's okay. And you can have that salary job, but you also have to understand what is the risk of that. And what I mean by that is when you work for a company, they're going to do what they need to do for the company. You may or may not be part of that long-term plan, depending on your role and what you do. And now we are in this AI world of what's going to happen. And our companies, scaling down, scaling up. All sorts of crazy things are happening right now that people say this, they do that, and it doesn't make sense. So if you're in that salary job, great. But the risk to you now is your future job may or may not be there. It just depends. Right. We're in this industrial AI revolution, right?
Oh, it is.
It's really this digital revolution, I guess, is what we'd probably call it.
Yeah.
And there's some uncertainty there. So even stepping out or staying in your current job, there's uncertainty that exists. So what kind of risk are you willing to take at the end of the day is what you have to ask yourself. It's not for everybody. And some people couldn't sleep at night that way.
Right.
I had some sleepless nights.
I bet you. Well, and I'm sure the amount of time and energy and effort you were putting in those first, especially that first, the beginning span of time, you were definitely working more time and energy and effort than maybe you were before. Because, if you're in startup mode, that's what it takes. And that's part of the investment is just say, okay, I'm going to make this change. And then I know I'm going to work way harder than I've probably worked in a very long time or ever, but it's going to be worth it because the hope is at the other end, I'm going to get where I want to go.
I think that's actually how it would work for most people. Interesting enough, but didn't really work like that for me because I was a teacher and a coach.
Oh,
so
you're already working crazy hours.
I would actually go to when we were in season. I'd go to work out myself in the morning, teach school all day, have practice after. Then we'd have follow up from the practice after that. So I'd get home between 8:30, 9 o'clock every night. I'd be at the school by like 6 a.m. Right. That was a normal day for me. So I just actually was hoping that my efforts would get compensated because the amount of hours I put in. Because even in the off season, we still would have lifting before school or after school for the kids. So I was part of that. So there's just tons of hours you put in.
Yeah.
And anyway, so it's different for me. And that's why it's different. But for most people, yes, you have to know you're going to have to work harder, put more time in, make more sacrifices in the beginning so that you can get where you want to go. Yeah. So then for my career arc, I started I started with that company and then I worked for them for about 12 years. I learned a ton. I mastered my craft. I got my CFP, again, a place that I invested in myself, so certified financial planner. And that elevated my knowledge even more, but it's kind of funny because it almost elevated my knowledge to a way where I'm like, I figured out I really wasn't in the right place any longer.
Right.
So COVID hits, because I had my CFP in 16, COVID hits in 20. I was just evaluating, options and what was out there and understanding the industry. And I just realized that, there was mandates and things that they were talking about doing at a company level that I wasn't comfortable with. And I'm like, well, the only way you're not going to have to do that is if you're the one in control.
Right.
So then I was like, okay, do I need to consider investing in myself again and make a leap of faith again and open my own company?
And here we are.
Here we are sitting right now. Yes.
Yes, here we are.
So was it a good bet? Yeah. But again, I was relentless in my efforts that I was not going to fail.
Right.
And it's interesting because I had a rental house and I sold it, and I used the money from that to start the company. I lent it to the company because there was 3 of us advisors that left at the same time, and we paid it back in 6 months.
Wow.
So we got off the ground running hard and fast. Anyways, and it was relentless effort.
And I think a lot of people, I think some of the great stories that come out of COVID are a lot of people who did that. I mean, a lot of people, especially people who got laid off and took advantage of that extended unemployment that was offered to do the things that they maybe wanted to do, to get the training, to get the, and move into different careers, that thing that we always tell people to do, right? Especially people who are maybe kind of at the bottom tier, of the income range. And it's like, well, how do you move up? Well, usually that requires getting some kind of training or specialization or something. And I know tons of people who took that as an opportunity to actually do that. Because you can only sit around and watch TV for so long when you're not allowed to go out of the house. And so it was a perfect little storm there. So I think, but it goes to that whole never waste a good crisis, right? I mean, and so at a different point, you actually helped me and my late wife with that when she thought she was transitioning from one job to another, and then left the one job, but the other job actually ended up not working out very unexpectedly, and kind of left us in limbo going, oh goodness, what do we do now? And, we kind of got fixated on the, oh my gosh, we got to pay our bills, side of things. And we thought we were going to be okay. And I remember sitting down talking to you, and he's like, well, and you were very good about listening to us and then saying, well, where do you want to go? And that's when it came out that she really, eventually, what she really wanted to do was actually teach, but teach at the collegiate level. And it was just like, well, how do we get there? And maybe set aside some of these stopgap things we were thinking about doing just to get a little income. And you're like, or is there something you want to do right now? And what ended up actually happening is she ended up getting a teaching job, at kind of like the community college level, but kind of that introductory community job, while she was working on her PhD. At that time. But, I think that conversation with you was a turning point in our internal conversation as a couple and as a household as to what we were going to try to do. And it was just like, well, we should take this moment. We didn't look for it. We didn't want it. This is not a crisis we, solicited, but we're going to take this moment and say, okay, let's at least explore what it looks like to use this to our advantage. Right. Because maybe we were, and basically what it came down to is we ended up being probably willing to take more of a pay cut for her because she was moving out of clinical practice, which pays pretty well, into teaching, which doesn't pay as well. But we basically reevaluated, what income we actually needed her to make. And suddenly there were other opportunities available, including the one she ended up taking. Yeah. So it actually worked out. Well, it doesn't always, but I mean, it definitely for us worked out. But we needed that reminder to say, wait a minute, is there an opportunity to turn this into something that will actually help you go, get to where you want to go?
Yeah. And going backward to go forward is a big piece of that component too, because even for me, I went from teaching to financial advising. I didn't actually go backwards. We talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
I never made less starting in this career than I got paid teaching. That's how bad it was. But when I left the big company I was at to start my own company, yes, I went backward to go forward. And what I mean by that is I had to loan the company money. That was just to pay the basic bills and our personnel. And then us as advisors or the partners of the firm at the time, we didn't get paid for a few months.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of stressful because you're like, whoa, geez, I didn't get paid. And now what do I do? And how do I function? And so part of that was prepping in advance where we had to have enough in savings and things like that we had to think through. So you still can't just do it, right? We got to make sure we make a plan and do it the right way. So you have your financial situation not in a dire strait where you're going to go bankrupt or something, right? So we thought through all that in advance, but that's a big part of it. And are you willing to go backward to go forward? So at the end of the day, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know, what kind of success there would be or wouldn't be. You just literally bet on yourself and said, I believe I can make this work. You do your research, you prepare, and then you go, right? Yeah. So one of the reasons we actually named our company is named Credentialed Wealth Advisors, because the credentialed piece of it was important to us because we wanted our advisors to be credentialed, because what that means is you're a lifelong learner.
Yes.
And you're investing in your knowledge consistently because you have to. When you have credentials, you have to keep them up and you have to take continuing education and things like that. And that was one of the important things to us, to be able to say, hey, we want lifelong learners here that want to consistently seek for knowledge and understanding and make themselves better, right? So that's another way that we're actually building that in just to the name of the company and the design of the company, is that we're going to have that be part of it.
I love it.
Yeah, and I don't actually know if you ever knew that piece. Did you?
I do.
Did
Yeah,
you?
we talked about. We actually talked about it in another podcast.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, we talked
Good.
about it.
We've talked about a lot of stuff.
But and I think that's important. It's funny because as you're talking. I mean, I obviously I'm not going to my whole story here because, but I mean, I was a software engineer to start, and then ended up going to seminary, and that was a big step backwards. I mean, we went from a 3-bedroom home that we owned, in Albuquerque, and then ended up in a 600 square foot apartment with a 1-year-old in the middle of Ohio, where we didn't know anybody, because that's where I ended up going to seminary, and my wife went to nursing school. But that was a step down. Now, my benefit was during that time was when I was in seminary is I could make good money consulting for my old company, still doing work for them, like way more than my peers who were working at Starbucks. So it was like that helped smooth that transition, and it says, okay, yes, this is going to be a step back, but honestly, if I play my cards right, don't burn my bridge with my current company, when I leave and say, hey, if you want to keep me around, I'd be happy to work some consulting hours. And like, yes, please. And so I did that all through seminary and actually through my first couple of years of serving local churches, because in first year, second year pastors, by the way, don't make any money either.
Not like a teacher.
Pretty close. So especially up in Montana where I was serving. So, but even carrying forward that was, continuing to keep those relationships going and make sure I had, again, not burning that bridge, and then using that as a resource to invest in this transition that I wanted to make.
Yep. And you're investing in your holy, future of not being
stars and crowns in heaven, man.
Hell.
Come on. Yeah, exactly. So, and it can be big stuff like this. I also think for folks, if you're thinking about this, I mean, it can be smaller things too, right? And oftentimes I think one of the places to start is there something you're curious about? I mean, it sounds like part of your story is you got curious, like, is there something else I could do, right? Like this teaching thing isn't maybe quite what I wanted it to be. It's not quite where I want to be. It is for some people, maybe not for you. But then what else is there, that you might be able to do? Obviously, you got kind of curious about what your options might be, and that curiosity led you to, the path that you're on now.
Yeah, and it was interesting because I actually read some stuff in college about, investing and things like that, and I got really intrigued by it. And I was always just learning and reading about it, and that's ultimately why I decided to make the jump. That I'm interested in enough that I think I could really spend time here and do well.
Right.
Because I was just curious.
Right.
So I've gone from being, you really was just investing people's money, like, 17, 18 years ago when I started the business. That was kind of what you did. That's kind of what the job was. To now I'm a certified financial planner, and I have a planning educational approach to what I do. Interesting, right?
Wonder why.
So I get fulfillment from teaching, but now it's like, you get to teach people about something they actually care about and they listen to, versus having a class of kids who are like, why do I have to learn this?
Right.
So I still get to carry over those traits into my current job, which I didn't really realize at the beginning, but I really do enjoy. And teaching people and helping them understand and not telling them is a really fun part of my job.
Yeah. I will tell you, ministry got a whole lot more technical during and after COVID. And man, was I primed and ready to go. I mean, that was. It turns out it was the right person in the right place for.
Yeah, dude.
Not just for our church, but I consult with all kinds of churches, helping them figure out their problems, because church people are not always the most technical people.
Well, if you recall, Jeremy, we're doing this podcast right now because you went through what you went through in COVID, and you figured things out, and you're like, I can do that.
We can do it.
So therefore, we're doing it.
But and it all again comes back to that curiosity thing. Like, I'm like, I wonder if we could. And I think that's for, if people at home, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I don't know if this applies to me, I'm not ready to make a big career change. And I'm like, okay, but is there something you wonder about, you're curious about, either career or personal, or, some skill that you would like to learn? There are so many opportunities now to, learn all kinds of things, and, how to do 3D printing and wood engraving, and all the libraries are building up all these kind of crazy places where you can go and learn skills that, maybe never turns into anything you make money on, but if it brings you joy, right? If learning how to do something, taking a cooking class and learning how to cook better, brings you joy when you get home at the end of the day to make a beautiful meal for your family, then gosh darn it, learn how to cook. I mean, invest in yourself in that way, because the bottom line of life isn't just your bank account, right? The bottom line is the joy and the happiness you experience as you go through, your days and your weeks.
Yeah, I think that scratching the itch of curiosity for me has become a really big thing.
Yeah.
And when I'm curious about something and I want to learn about it, I really enjoy it. And it's always interesting because when I talk about financial planning, I'm a geek. right? Like people see it. You're like, God, this guy, right? But I will tell you, when I sit across from people who are clients of mine, and just this last weekend, literally, this guy works for an excavating company, and they do a lot of septic work. And the way that he talked about septic systems and like I'm like, well, this is the only person I ever want to do a septic system for me, because like this guy just loves it.
Oh my gosh. I had my gar detailed yesterday, and the guy who came and did a fantastic job. It was very reasonable. He was here in town, which was nice. And I was talking to him afterwards. He's like, yeah, he's a project manager for an electrical company is his day job, but he just really likes cleaning cars. Yeah. And he used to do it just for fun, and then he got himself a little trailer and all the equipment and stuff, and kind of hung out of shingles. He's like, this is kind of what I do, on my days off, or days that I'm not as busy, because it brings me joy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, you come clean all my cars.
That's right.
Because he did a good job.
Well, and I think that's part of this too, is that it doesn't have to be a holistic whole jump off the ship kind of thing, right? The side gig is a real thing. And a lot of side gigs for people have turned into main gigs, but you don't know that. I actually have a really cool investing in memories episode that we had. She was working corporate and really enjoyed travel and started doing it, blogging. People kept asking her questions. She's like, well, I'll just start, doing this for people.
Right. And that's right. I remember that. Yeah.
It got to a point where she's like, I think I'm going to quit my corporate job. That was, by the way, like 2019 and 2020 happened next year. She's like, oh man.
I remember that too.
But it's more than been awesome thereafter, right? Because once things opened up, it's just been a boom. But like that's a pretty cool story. But that was a side gig thing, a passion. So that's why when you have something you really enjoy, like lean into it, learn more about it. Are there opportunities in it?
Yeah.
You don't have to jump off the ship holistically to make that change. But if you are going to make that change, then you have to kind of say, am I ever going to go back and is this really something I should do?
Right. So last January. So again, I have credentials myself. You see, as a pastor, which requires continuing education. But we have a pretty broad understanding in the church.
From God.
A little bit, but also the books. But we have a pretty broad understanding of what that is allowed to be. And I got curious about this whole AI thing, because obviously in my previous profession, I studied it, but AI in the 90s when I was studying it is nothing like how we approach AI today. We just didn't have the hardware back then. But it was out there and people were talking about it. I'm like, I don't even really know how this works. So I took, a couple of certification classes through Google, which I think they cost me $50. And they took, I think like 8 or 9 hours each or something like that, just to learn kind of the basics of how generative AI works and what you could do with it and everything. And then as I was going through the little, program and I was going through the assignments, I would just make them about the church, right? I was like, I wonder how I could use this to do this piece of my job. I wonder how I could do it to this piece of my job. And by the time I got done, I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And my whole last year has been, now I'm in a couple of weeks going down to Colorado Springs to teach a class on AI to other pastors. I did one a couple of weeks ago. I went to a conference on it with some higher ups of the denominations and from other denominations back in September. And I've actually got into kind of developing my own tools around it, one of which we're piloting at our church. And Emily's church is going to pilot too, which is kind of fun. And I don't know where that's going to go. I mean, it's definitely a side project, right now.
Itch for you, though,
but it scratches an itch.
Even you just talking about right now, look how passionate you are about it. Like, it's just fun.
Yeah,
it's fun, and you want to do fun things.
I do, and it brings my loves together. Like I never really, I didn't know that I could actually put together my previous passion, which I really did enjoy. Like there was a lot I loved about software engineering and stuff when I used to do it, but there's also a lot I didn't. Yeah. But now I'm like, well, great. And the big part is I didn't get to work on my own terms. Yeah. But the nice thing about a side job is I work on it when I want to.
Yeah.
When I get home in the evening and I want to tinker on my code, I do it. And if I don't, then I don't.
That's right.
So, and it may make money. It probably won't. Who knows? But it's fun and it gives me life and joy and people find it useful.
And it's, so it's like one of those things too, because now I have this company that is going well, right? We're going on 6 years.
I know. Can't believe it.
Which is pretty awesome. But we're doing some new things. Number one, we started this podcast. Actually, we started recording 2 years ago in March.
It was.
And we didn't start releasing until I think July of that year, I think.
Yeah, we got a few baked in there.
Yeah, so coming this
Including
July.
the infamous one at the back of my head.
Yes, we have a really good one. Everybody, get a good laugh. That, unfortunately, is probably their investing in memories one. So
I think it might be, actually. Oh, my
we
gosh.
need to maybe redo that.
Yeah.
But we started, so July will be 2 years of releasing podcasts. Now, why are we doing this? Well, you and I are doing it because we're having fun doing it.
Yeah.
Right? And I want to get
And I'm
more,
learning a ton.
I want to get more content out to the masses. And I know
Yeah.
that, I'm one person and I can't do it all. But I think the content that we talk about is really important for people to hear. So that's why I'm doing it. And then just recently in the last month, right? We just finished our first month at the end of March. We have a new contractor working with us that's doing social media stuff and making short form videos that now are getting out information and actually taking clips of our podcast and creating that and putting it out into the world so that people can get little nuggets of information that maybe they wouldn't see otherwise because they don't want to sit and listen to a financial podcast.
Right.
But we can at least get a little bit more information to them. So again, why am I doing that? It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Right? We recorded yesterday and it was kind of interesting and the process is interesting and the content is pretty cool and fun. And what's the biggest thing? We're doing one that's coming up. I don't want to spill the beans, but this is going to come out after, so we'll be okay. But it's going to be like, you can write that off. How many times have you heard somebody say, well, you can write that off on your taxes?
Oh, yeah.
What does it even mean?
I don't know.
They don't know what it means either. They're just saying, well, I can write that off.
Yeah.
Well, no, you cannot write off your mortgage to your home that you live in. No. Sorry. That is an expense you personally have to pay. Yeah. Anyway, so we got some fun content coming around that, and we're just having fun with it.
Yeah.
And we'll see if it goes anywhere.
Yeah, and I think if anybody, for the tens of people who've been watching this from the beginning, you can see the quality improvement, over time and the investing in it. I mean, you invested in new equipment and, and all that kind of stuff and to keep it going and long term, where that pays off for you, whether it, obviously, hopefully it translates into more business and that kind of thing would be, no doubt part of the goal. But also part of the reward in it is you're right. It's just kind of fun to do. Yeah. And if it helps people, learn and be better and make better decisions around their financial health, then great.
That's a win.
Yeah. All right.
So it's fun. It's exciting. It's hard. But you have to be willing to invest in yourself if you're going to make that investing in you a priority. Right. And there's no one way to do it.
There is not. And there are big ways and small ways. And the stories that tend to come up are the stories kind of like Roy's and maybe a little bit mine where there's these big, huge career changes. And maybe that's where it goes, but it doesn't start there. So, it starts with following your curiosity. What is bringing you light in life and joy? What are you really curious about? What would you like to be doing? Just having some sense of that. And then, okay, well, what's the 10th step might be quit your job and, start that donut company. And if you do, let me know. But the first step might be, well, I should probably look up how to make a donut. Like, maybe how hard could that be? Well, I bet you there's a YouTube video that will tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the best piece of advice I can give to everybody is you need to get off and running like a herd of turtles.
That's very Nebraska of you.
That's right.
Okay. Tell me you're from Nebraska without telling me you're from Nebraska.
That's right.
Herd of turtles. Oh, my goodness. Well, thank you, Roy. I think this was good, as always.
As always, buddy. Thanks for your time and effort.
Appreciate y'all. If you found this helpful or interesting, please like, subscribe, share it with your friends. If you know somebody who maybe, you think has an inkling of doing something a little different with their lives or needs to spend a little time investing in them, maybe give them a little nudge by sharing this podcast with them. And as always, if you have any questions or comments or topics you'd like us to cover, reach out. We love it when you do that because then we know we're giving you what you need. All right. Well, thank you, Roy.
Thank you. Credentialed Wealth Advisors is a Securities and Exchange Commission registered investment advisor. The content provided is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as an offer for investment advice or the purchase or sale of any security, insurance, or other investment product. All investments involve risk, including the potential loss of principal. Before implementing any strategy discussed, individuals should consult with a qualified financial, tax, or legal professional. While the data presented is sourced from materials believed to be reliable, its completeness and accuracy cannot be guaranteed.